She's a best-selling author with a fascinating family history. Rita Braver is in conversation with Isabel Allende.
I have the book in my head, the characters in my soul all the time.
If anyone knows what it takes to capture a reader's attention, it is Isabel Allende.
You need crazy people, and you need people capable of doing extraordinary things out of impulse or passion or courage.
80-year-old Allende has filled more than 24 books with passionate and courageous characters. More than 74 million copies sold, translated into some 40 languages.
Your women are particularly strong. They take over your books.
Do you know any weak women, Rita?
Not ones I really like.
Well,
Women and girls play key roles in The Wind Knows My Name, Allende's latest novel,
There come from Germany boatloads of Jewish youngsters,
which draws parallels between Jewish children sent to safety by their families during World War II and Latin American children separated from parents while trying to cross into the U.S.
the Jewish families had to make the horrible choice of sending their kids alone to save them from the Nazis, not knowing who would receive them on the other side. And when we had this horrible policy of separating the families at the border in 2018, I immediately thought of what those families had gone through then and how history repeats itself.
Allende's own history is tumultuous. Her father abandoned the family when she was 3, and her mother had to return to her parents' home in Santiago, Chile.
She had not been trained to work because she belonged to a social class and a generation in which women didn't work. She was stuck.
You didn't want to be like the women you saw around you. You knew that in your heart at a very young age.
I wanted to be like my grandfather, who had a car, who had the keys of the house, who had money, who made all the decisions. I wanted to be him.
How did the family react to you?
I was a lunatic. I was expelled from the nuns at age 6. So it wasn't an easy childhood, as you may imagine.
She married, had 2 children, but always worked as a TV personality, journalist, and school administrator.
Did you ever think, what I really want to do is be a writer?
I was afraid to say that. I never thought that I could. There were no role models. The great writers of Latin America were all male.
Then in 1973, her world was upended.
Some thought there was a peaceful way to reconcile the nation's problems. The military did not.
As the Chilean military seized power from the elected government of her cousin, Salvador Allende.
And my country changed in 24 hours. Try to imagine what it would be if in the United States the armed forces attacked the democratic institutions. The president would die in the coup. And then I learned that I was in a blacklist. I got out.
She and her family would flee to Venezuela.
I felt very unhappy, very frustrated. I was going to turn 40 very soon. And my grandfather was dying in Chile. And I started a letter for my grandfather to say goodbye.
The letter would turn into Allende's first book, called The House of the Spirits, published in 1982, a fictionalized account of her own family, Chile's oppressive class system, and the terror of the military coup d'etat. The novel became an international sensation, often called one of the most important books of the 20th century.
How did the success of House of the Spirits change your life?
It gave me a voice when I had no voice. I realized that this is what I want to do.
Her life would change in other ways, too, as she left her first marriage and Latin America.
You've lived in California for how many years now?
Since 1987.
And why? You could live anywhere. Why?
Because I fell in lust with a guy, came here, he was living here, we married, stayed married for 28 years.
But in 2015, Allende's second marriage ended in divorce.
Did you ever think you'd fall in love and marry again?
No.
Yet in 2019, she married attorney Roger Kukras, and is comfortable talking about her own sexuality.
You say, in candlelight, I might be able to fool a distracted guy who's had 3 glasses of wine and is not intimidated by a woman who takes the initiative.
Yes.
Is that true?
It is true. And also help some marijuana. Marijuana blueberries. 1 blueberry and you can have wonderful sex. I shouldn't be saying this on camera actually, but because I know that Roger's children will listen to this.
And though she can be lighthearted, Allende is still mourning the death of her daughter, Paula Frias, in 1992, at 29, after an attack of porphyria, a hereditary blood disease.
She got the wrong medication, she got severe brain damage, and died a year later.
The proceeds from Allende's best-selling book about Paula helped launch a foundation, now run by Allende's son Nico and his wife, that supports groups trying to help young girls at risk around the world.
And if you can save a few of those little girls, well, I feel rewarded.
She also continues to feel rewarded by her writing. With no plans to retire, she comes to her office every weekday, where she lights a candle and sits down at the computer, usually thinking and writing in Spanish.
Is writing still hard for you, or does it just flow?
The process is always hard, but I know now, which I didn't know before, that if I spend enough time, I will be able to do it.
And as for the impact of Isabel Allende's books on her readers, work that so often deals with injustice and suffering.
In a way, do you think when people read your work that it might bring about change?
It can happen, but I cannot plant those ideas in anybody's head. I don't change people. I just make people realize who they are.